And a not so good morning, everybody. Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. The morning after an epic collapse by the Philadelphia Eagles. I watched a little bit of the postgame show, PHLY Eagles postgame show last night. Jamie Lynch had said it's difficult to remember a worse loss by the Eagles, and I'm sure there's been, but not in a fashion like that. That was an epic collapse. I'm pissed. I legitimately was thinking about drinking. I know it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I have a Coors Light right here, but I need something. And normally, for the last 7 years of my professional career, I had to wait until 2 o'clock in the afternoon to come on the air and complain. I love this because it's 8 o'clock in the morning. If you're watching live on YouTube, on Roku TV, if you're listening a little bit later on our podcast stream, hello, we're brought to you by Bet Parks. But now I get to get it off my chest. Because that was an epic collapse. That was an all-time disappointing ending. I still don't know how they lost the game. I mean, I know how they lost the game, but I don't know how they lost the game. So everybody is going to, and we'll see how everything transpires today, but it feels like the big story of the game, or the big story of the game, is Nick Sirianni's decision to throw the ball on third down and then kick a field goal, allowing the Atlanta Falcons 1 minute and 46 seconds left to go down and score a touchdown. And I agree that is one of the biggest, or the biggest pivot point of the game. Where I disagree is that it was a terrible decision and something that Nick Sirianni shouldn't have done, and it's coaching malpractice, and he should be fired, and hire Bill Belichick right now, and he's a horse's ass, and what is he doing? So let me be clear about this. I'm not telling you that it isn't a nice, healthy debate on whether or not Nick Sirianni should have just ran the ball. They have no timeouts left. If you don't pick up the first down, then you wind down the clock, you kick a field goal, and Atlanta has probably a little bit less than a minute to go to score a touchdown. I'm not telling you it's not a good debate, because it is. But it's also now outrageous to do what Nick Sirianni did, which was, hey, look at the defense they're playing. Hey, look at the play that we can run, and if we get a first down, the game's over. And guess what happened? They actually called the perfect play. They executed the play perfectly. It was right there. It was the easiest play of the game. And Saquon Barkley dropped it. He catches the ball. He goes down immediately. Even if he runs out of bounds, Falcons can't stop the clock. Game's over. It's over. So the Eagles actually called the right play. Because if Saquon Barkley catches a routine ball that's 5 yards away, perfectly thrown by Jalen Hurts, the game is over. Now, like I said, I don't know if I would have went for it like Nick Sirianni did. I don't know. I probably would have ran it in that spot and make them beat you with less than a minute to go. But again, it's not outrageous what Nick Sirianni did. It's not one of these moves where you're watching the game and you're like, what is he doing? This makes no sense. He has no clue what he's doing. No, like, it actually was a play call that would have worked if it wasn't for the drop. Now, on that play, if the throw's not there, Jalen Hurts has the option to try to run for it, or he can just go down and you still have the timeout. You still are able to preserve the clock. It didn't work. Saquon Barkley dropped it. But from there, you allowed the Falcons to march down the field. And by the way, even if the Falcons had 55 seconds left to go in the game, who's saying that they wouldn't have driven down to score a touchdown? It took them 4 plays. And by the way, they were kind of taking their time going up to the line on 1 or 2 of those plays. I thought they would even run the ball, which I would have considered doing, because they were going to give the Eagles too much time on the clock to come back down and win the game with a field goal. So that's where I'm going next. And I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this today. And I'm probably more pissed about this play than anything else that happened last night. Jalen Hurts' decision to throw the ball on the game the game-ending interception was inexplicable. I mean, I understand what he's doing. They're they're feeling desperation. He's trying to make a play. He had pressure on him. He actually got hit soon after getting rid of the ball, right? You have to look at the situation. The Eagles are at the 43-yard line, their own 43-yard line. If that ball is thrown out of bounds and it's incomplete, they have 19 seconds left. 19 seconds left and 2 timeouts. You're at the 43-yard line, your own 43. If you get 14 yards, that's a 60-yard field goal for Jake Elliott. If you get 20 yards, you know where I'm going here. You're putting yourselves in field goal range relatively easy. You have 19 seconds. You have 2 timeouts. You don't have to call a timeout right there because the ball's incomplete. He really didn't have many places to go with the ball, but throw it out of bounds. There was pressure coming on him. I'm not telling you that it's not a difficult decision in that moment. You can't loft the ball like that to Devontae Smith. Jesse Bates came right up. He was playing the back of it. Boom, came right up and intercepted it. Even if he wasn't there, it would have been an incompletion. You can't make that throw. I'm sorry, I've seen Patrick Mahomes too many times with 30 seconds left in the game, 20 seconds left in the game. I've seen Josh Allen, 30 seconds left in the game, needing to go 30 or 40 yards to get in field goal range, doing it rather easy. They had 3 timeouts left and plenty of time left in the game. I wasn't freaking out when the Falcons scored that touchdown because to me, you get the ball at the 30-yard line, which is the new place you get the ball because everybody's still kicking the ball out of the end zone. You get the ball at the 30-yard line. You literally need to go, 30 yards to get into a very makeable field goal for Jake Elliott? You don't make that throw. That's the game. That's a bigger play in the game than Nick Sirianni deciding to go for it or deciding to throw the ball on 3rd down. Sorry, it's a bigger mistake. That was a mistake. Eagles should have won that game last night. Forget about everything that happened before that. You need to get 20 yards there. You have 2 timeouts. You have 19 seconds. And you win the game. If Jake Elliott misses the field goal, he misses the field goal. But you put him in that position. Is there a more clutch kicker in the NFL? There's some clutch kickers in the NFL. Jake Elliott's right at the top of that list. Tyler Zulli, as I bring you in to try to figure this out. I know that I'm going to be, I would say the majority of the people are going to blame Nick Sirianni and the decision to pass the ball. And again, I think it's a debate. I do. I can totally see running the ball and not throwing the ball. If there's a minute left to go in the game and not a minute 50 left to go in the game, I think he runs the ball because then you can run the clock down to 20 seconds or 15 seconds. There was just enough time to where they looked at it and said, they're still going to get the ball back with plenty of time. And they did. And they did. What's your reaction to everything?
Yeah, morning.
Hey, morning.
Because it's not good. It's definitely not a good morning. So morning. Here we are on a Tuesday. Didn't think that this would go this way. We talked about it yesterday. Thought it would be a close game. But I think both of us had picked the Eagles to win. I think there's a lot of blame to go around. You could talk, and I think the low-hanging fruit, the easy talking point is the decision to run versus the decision to pass and whatnot. Sure. I think you're justified. It's justifiable to say it was a bad decision at the time, chew up the clock. Because then if you are going to kick the field goal, then you've chopped off another 46, 47, the 40 plus whatever it takes to kick the field goal, the 5, 6, 7 seconds. You're justified in that sentiment. You're also justified in the sentiment that Saquon Barkley needs to catch that pass. It hit him in the hands, and he had space to maneuver. He would have picked up a 1st down. They win that game. So you're justified in that as well. The reason they lost this game, to me, was after all of this, your offense left the field with a 6-point lead. They shouldn't have had to leave the field, but they did leave the field with a 6-point lead. Your defense got torched by Kirk Cousins on the final drive of the game because they were too soft. They were too lax. The coverage was – I understand playing off coverage. You don't want to get beat over the top. But in this scenario, for me, you lose this game because all game long you got no pressure on a guy who is a concrete statue in the pocket. He can't move. His knee is still not right. You can tell it's not right, and he picked you apart standing still on that final drive. It was a long-standing issue of 0 pass rush. Milton Williams had the first sack of the game, midway through the 2nd quarter.
It was in a big spot, too, because Atlanta was driving.
Sure.
And that's your boy, Milton Williams. I was thinking, you're
my
his
guy.
biggest fan.
Right. But so here's the thing. Outside of that, Bryce Huff, once again, non-existent. Josh Sweat, non-existent. The pass rush just wasn't there. So all of these things add up to why they lost the game. But if you're saying to me pinpoint one particular moment, I don't think the defense was particularly that was strong in the pass rush whatsoever. And when you leave the field with a lead, at least there's some semblance of hope to say, get off the field, get a stop, get off the field to win the game.
They need a touchdown. Get a stop.
So all of these things circle up into a loss.
Yep.
They're all to blame.
Yep. And it's disappointing. And Tyler's going to play some sound here coming up in a second. It's disappointing because this is kind of the way that I felt at the end of last year. And, Vic Fangio's going to solve everything. They'll be great. Vic Fangio. You need players in this league, everybody. 152 rushing yards for the Falcons last night, 5.4 yards a carry. Now, in 2 games, they've given up 316 rushing yards, 6.5 per carry in those games. Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham have no sacks. Sweat's the only guy that you even notice on the field. And I love Brandon. I'm friends with Brandon. You don't even notice the other guys. Honest to God. Going back to last year, Eagles edge rushers have 4 sacks in their last 10 games. I'm reading from Ruben here. From Rube. 3 by Hassan Reddick, 1 from Brandon Graham. So again, last 10 games, their edge rushers have 4 sacks. 1's by Brandon, 3's by a guy that's not here anymore. None in the last 6 games. 6 games without a sack by an edge rusher. Has Bryce Huff, the only reason you notice him is because he wears 0. Because he produces 0. Seriously, maybe he should change his number because he's living up to his jersey number, which is a 0. Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff had 1 quarterback hit, no sacks, no tackles for losses, 0 passes defended last night. 0. No penetration, no push, missed tackles on the second level. But they don't even get me as angry as the Philly Dogs. Oh, I heard all about the Philly Dogs. Oh, Howie Roseman. Let's just go draft. Oh, Georgia's defense, one of the best defenses of all time. Let's just go draft everybody from the defense. Meanwhile, the Kobe Deans look like the best player of that draft, which we never thought we'd say before. So this is last night. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. This is through 2 games. 2 solo tackles, 1 quarterback hurry, no sacks. Jalen Carter in 46 snaps last night had 1 tackle. Bryce Huff in 32 stats last night. If you look at the box score, Tyler, guess whose name you don't see in the box score? Because you have to have a freaking stat to make the box score. No stats for Bryce Huff. Jordan Davis, 2 tackles. Brandon Graham, 28 snaps, no stats. Milton Williams, productive, 25 snaps, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Nolan Smith, 1 tackle. How about this? Booker. I didn't even know who Booker was. Thomas Booker IV played 9 snaps at defensive tackle. Had 3 freaking solo tackles and 2 tackles for a loss. You've seen him more. You've noticed Booker more than any of the first-round draft picks from the freaking University of Georgia. And you wonder why this defense isn't very good right now. This is a problem. This defensive line is a real problem. And I think Jalen Carter's still very talented. Listen, he didn't do much in the second half of last year. And rookie wall, whatever. Hey, bro, we're through 2 games. You haven't done squat. Jordan Davis is a problem. And when you look at the rushing numbers, he's drafted to anchor your line, to be your nose tackle to where you can't run like that on the Eagles defense. So if they're running on you, oh, that's a big miss. That's a big miss. And they've missed. They have. Eagles linebacker Devin White was a healthy scratch last night. That was a $3 million player by Howie Roseman. Scratch. The Kobe's playing well. He's playing pretty well. But still, that's $3 million that is a healthy scratch last night. Unacceptable. I had said this yesterday. And listen, Tyler, I'm not one to pat myself on the back. I'm not going to do a Barry Horowitz. But I had said on yesterday's show that if they don't get a pass rush on Kirk Cousins, they will lose the game. And it took right up to the very friggin' end where they kept giving him opportunity after opportunity. No pass rush on Kirk Cousins. Big drive, 4 plays, boom, game's over. Well, game really wasn't over, but they took the lead right there.
You know, we use that. I kind of jokingly, but semi-serious, use that phrase a lot, like the concrete quarterback, right? The guy that can't get out of the pocket, can't extend.
Got Flintstone feet.
You know, and more times than not, it's hyperbole, right? Because the guys that maybe aren't fleet of foot, most of them, you know, I think can do a decent job. The good quarterbacks who are slow is what I'm trying to say. So like Kirk Cousins prior to the injury does a decent job of being able to manipulate the pocket a little bit. Last night, Kirk Cousins had no pocket manipulation ability whatsoever.
Nope.
He would drop back and he would stand there. It was like watching a college quarterback who would drop back, go to 1 read, 2 read, throw the ball,
right.
get the ball out of your hand, slant route, quick outs, all this kind of stuff. He did a nice job a couple of times of extending the play just enough to get by. But he had zero ability to maneuver and manipulate and extend the pocket. And he basically was allowed a fresh pocket for a majority of the game last night because they got no pass rush. Yep. And listen, the Atlanta Falcons offensive line is good. I'm not going to say it's not. They've got a bunch of former first round picks, a bunch of guys that have come together nicely over the last couple of years. It's a decent offensive line. You can't get nothing on this quarterback. Just assume that your front four is going to get home, and then when it doesn't, never adjust to bring any extra help.
Nope. Fangio, he's not a blitzer. I mean, the Eagles...
Not asking for a blitzer. I'm asking for somebody to send a fifth guy.
But a lot of people, and I agree with you, I don't need a zero blitz, right? But you need to be creative in how you're trying to get to the quarterback, especially when you're not getting to the quarterback. But this is the Fangio style. People bitch Jonathan Gannon, Seth Joyner, everybody else. You need the blitz. The Eagles don't want to play a defense that blitzes. They just don't. Or they'll hire a coordinator that likes to blitz. Fangio's not a big blitzer. All right? This is the defense. This is what they want to play. This is the defense that Howie Roseman and the organization want to play. So you can complain they don't blitz. You can yell at Vic Fangio. Fine. Blame the organization because this is the kind of defense that they want to play. So let's go to Tyler here because I know we have a bunch of sound here, and this is just going to be it's going to be before we do that.
Do we have to?
Yeah, but so Sirianni has an explanation to everything, and let me bring this up, and then we'll go to you and we'll play some sound here. I don't think it was a bad coaching job last night by Nick Sirianni, really at all. They didn't waste timeouts. There wasn't a bunch of mental mistake penalties. I wish they would have kicked the field goal early. I would have kicked the field goal early, right?
I agree with you. I would have taken the points.
I would have taken the points, and I thought it was a mistake. I did. The analytics, which is what the Eagles employ, which is, again, what the organization wants to do, leans that you go for it right there. And when it doesn't work, then it goes on the head coach. And it didn't work. If Saquon Barkley catches that ball right now, are we bitching this morning? We're probably kind of breathing a sigh of relief, but we're talking about how good this team is. That's what I think we're doing. We're not worried about all this other stuff that Nick Sirianni did. If Saquon Barkley catches the ball, we're not talking about this. If Jalen Hurts doesn't throw the ball up for grabs, we might have a game-winning field goal, and we're in here being like, Jake Elliott, who's more clutch than Jake Elliott, right? But again, him going for it on 4th down, and you look at it, honestly, my bigger issue with that whole situation was the play calling. So they're 1st and 10 at the 15. Saquon Barkley on that drive, and I'm talking about the drive where they elected to go for it and not kick the field goal. So this is the drive. They start off at the 36. Saquon Barkley, 9 yards. Saquon Barkley, 9 yards. Saquon Barkley, 10 yards. Saquon Barkley, 11 yards. You're 1st and 10 at the 15-yard line. All right?
By the way, that's 39 yards on 4 plays.
And they were, I think, all inside runs.
39 yards.
And they were marching down the field. You're 1st and 10 at the Atlanta 15. I know you just use Saquon a bunch.
So
try to compose myself.
They give him a breather there, right?
Why is Kenny Gainwell in the game? Getting 2 straight carries. Why is Kenny Gainwell on this team? Why is Kenny Gainwell on 1st down from the 15-yard line getting a carry? Why is Kenny Gainwell on 2nd down getting another rush, setting up a 3rd and 4? You know why? Because they knew they were going to go for it. A 3rd and 4, incomplete, and then 4th and 4. And I hated the play on 3rd and 4 because you knew what was coming. It was going to be a pass play. You knew what was coming, and he had nowhere to go with it. A bunch of inexperienced wide receivers. It's so difficult to throw the ball like that when you get closer because there's not as much space. 3rd and 4, and then that sets up the 4th and 4, which, I mean, like, whatever, it didn't work. They didn't have open receivers on it. The drive was lost. That drive was lost. Kenny Gainwell, 2 rushes on 1st and 2nd down, Tyler. I hated it.
So I get not, Barkley just ran the ball 4 straight times for 40 yards. He's probably gassed. He needs a little bit of a breath. I get it. Gainwell, I think, is productive in the pass game. I'm not sure in that spot. 1st down, I don't have an issue with the run.
And he got 4 yards on 1st.
Yeah. So if you get 4 yards on 1st down, you set up 2nd and 6. You're ahead of the sticks. You've got your entire playbook to work with. The second run, a little bit questionable. I agree with you. The 3rd down call was the worst of the 4. And I think that you go from being ahead of the sticks, because if you run the ball twice for 3 more yards each, a 3-yard and a 3-yard, you just got a 1st down. You just reset the clock, reset the marker. I didn't love getting him the ball the 2nd straight time. I think you want to maybe spread it out a little bit. But I think on that drive particularly, you saw the absence of A.J. Brown being significant.
Yes, agreed. No, and you saw that. I mean, really, you saw that all night. And he's going to be out for multiple weeks, according to a report, which sucks. Yeah, if Saquon Barkley's not in good enough shape to be back out on the field, and these big fat offensive linemen are out there run blocking all these plays, you're telling me you need to put Kenny Gainwell out there over Saquon freaking Barkley? Like, oh my God, dude. My head was exploding when it happened. All right, so we're gonna play Sirianni's explanation in 1 second, so don't go anywhere. But hey, listen, this is an exciting day here on Philly with John Marks because my friends at Glatt Hair Restoration have joined Philly with John Marks. Want to welcome him to the program. I've been working with Dr. Glatt, who now is joined by Morgan Stern Medical. Dr. Glatt passed away back in May. Really tough, shocking. Love the guy, but his hair team, Glatt Hair Restoration, everybody's still there. Everybody on the staff brings 30+ years of industry experience. Let me just say this: that Glatt Hair Restoration, it's all they do. It's hair restoration. Dr. Morgan Stern is one of the biggest and best renowned plastic surgeons in the area, and he's teaming up with them. But most experience, most success in hair restoration is the Glatt Hair Restoration team, and they do the highest volume, most procedures in the country. They're the #1 office. And I say that not because it's like, no, because they do the best work of anybody, right? And I'm proof. This is the great thing about doing a digital show now. If you're watching on YouTube or Roku, I had hair restoration procedure with Dr. Glatt. Can you tell? Zuli, can you tell? I mean, I need to get you over to
come on,
Glatt Hair Restoration. I'm sorry.
Come on, it's not that bad yet.
But that's why you do it now, because I was exactly where you were, and I said, you know what? I get this done now. Boom, it'll look great, and it looks great. So, again, each member of this exceptionally trained team, 30 years of industry experience, hair restoration is all they do. So, one-on-one consultation. There's lots of different forms of treatment if you're experiencing hair loss. I've done. I've been over the Dr. Glatt's office many times over the years. I'm like a member of the family here. So here's what I'll say. This being the first time I talk about him. Reach out to me if you've heard me talk about it before or you want more information. Email me, johnmarksmedia@gmail.com, or DM me at John, Jon Marks, Marks Media. I always put that out there because people will reach out with questions. I have before and after pictures. I have exactly what it looks like after the procedure is done. I made sure that I documented everything so you can see. And I'm telling you that I told nobody. My hair restoration procedure that I got, I told nobody and nobody knew until I started talking about it on the air. So if you want to have this done, you don't have to tell anybody. You can have it done, boom, you'll look great. So the phone number if you want to call the office right now, 610-980-4000. Glatt Hair. They have the right treatment for you. 610-980-4000, or the website is glatthairmctr.com. Glatthairmctr.com, and reach out to me. So there you go. We can definitely talk about it. All right. Let's talk about Ace. All right? Because you need an ace. An ace gets things done, right? Birds needed an ace last night. But if you have an air conditioning issue, plumbing, heating, cooling, maybe you need equipment installation, you got a new refrigerator, but you're like, I can't put this in myself. Like, yeah, I wouldn't know what to do if I need to hook up the water, the copper pipe to the refrigerator. Good luck, all right? Well, AceHardwareHomeServices.com. That's where you go to get started on your next project. Plumbing, heating, cooling. They have the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. So if you need an estimate on something, boom, check them out, AceHardwareHomeServices.com. Emergency services. What happens when something goes wrong with your plumbing or your heating and it's winter? Get rid of them. Get a hold of them right away. AceHardwareHomeServices.com. Service you can trust. Satisfaction guaranteed. They make it right no matter what. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at AceHardwareHomeServices.com to get your project started today. All right. So, and again, welcome the Glatt Hair Restoration Group to the program as our first sponsor, and many more are coming in. All right, Tyler. So give us the sound here that we have.
Yeah.
So Sirianni, obviously, the question everybody had after the game was what was he thinking? What was the decision making?
Do you want to start with Sirianni? You want to start with Barkley? Where do you want to
start with Sirianni?
Okay.
Let's hear what Sirianni has to say.
All right, give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Well, we can do Barkley too. I mean, I'm not like when I come out and I'm like, yeah, Saquon, you have to catch that. Like, he's still a good player, and I don't like hate him or anything like that. But like sometimes players fail, and he dropped the ball last night. Here's Nick Sirianni after the game.
What's your thought process on the third and 3 call on the pass? And on that play, is there a mechanism where Jalen just sits down, takes the sack, if that's not wide open?
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to. They were running a certain defense and they junking it up in the middle. So we were trying to go around the outside, and it didn't work.
What was your thought pattern there on going kicking the field goal 4-3? Did you think about going for it?
Again, in that scenario, I was thinking they might not have any timeouts there, but obviously they did with the incomplete pass. That would have came down to maybe a minute, and so we wanted to go up 6 points, and it didn't work. So, the decision to pass it there, again, like I said, where they were junking it up inside, with it being 4th and 3 to go for it, I thought, with them not having any timeouts, I wanted them to be down a touchdown and see if they could drive the field, and they did.
NBC Sports Philadelphia with that sound. Thank you very much over there. Nothing that he said right now made me think that Nick Sirianni's a total ass. He explained it. You may disagree with what they did, and I understand that. I probably would have ran the ball there. But the play that they called actually worked. They thought they were going to get this. You know what happens at the end of games? It's fairly obvious that they're going to run the ball because they're trying to chew up the clock. The other team has no timeouts left. But the game's over if you get a first down. So could you have ran for the first down? Yeah, you could have. But if they're putting 10 guys to stop you from running for a first down, then what? So they actually called the perfect play, Tyler. Again, so I think it's a good debate whether or not he should have ran it or not. But I don't think he sounds like an ass.
No, I think that you're right. At some point, like a team stacks the box, you understand that, like, okay, because obviously, numbers wise, right? Your quarterback's not blocking. Your running back has the football, so that's one less body, helmet on helmet. So effectively, when you hand the ball off, you're looking at an 11-on-10 with the 10th guy being the runner, right? At some point, the numbers say this is a stacked box. We can't manipulate this. We can't win this particular matchup. So I get it. I think all of us, playing Monday night armchair quarterback, Tuesday morning armchair quarterback, would have run the football in that situation. However, I think that it was a design that worked
For sure.
As it's developing. And that ball gets caught. Probably, I don't know, Barkley catch that ball 98 out of 100 times?
Ask Giant fans; they'll tell you differently.
Some people up in Giant sports media land are having a field day with this.
It was the Super Bowl last night.
But I think that the design was not flawed. He catches that ball, you win the football game.
It wasn't crazy. Here's the bottom line: it didn't work.
It didn't
so
work.
When things don't work, the head coach is gonna catch it, especially a head coach that doesn't call plays. And now it's gonna, what's he doing, or whatever. Let's hear from Saquon Barkley after the game. He catches it, it's over. He knows that. He's not making any excuses. Here's Saquon after the game.
Dropped the ball. Let my team down today. Shouldn't have put the defense in that position. Made that catch. Game's over.
Were you surprised with the play call? Did you expect a running play?
No. Once I knew it, I thought it was a great play call. I just got to make the catch. And I could sit here and, complain and be upset about it, or I could be a professional athlete and go back to the drawing board and take the lick and move on and get better from it. I made that play multiple times. I missed that play before too. Meaning the situation. That happens part of the game, and I just got to be better. I let my team down. I got to man up to it. I got to own it, which I'm doing, and I can promise those guys in his locker room that I'll be better from.
Yep, he manned up to it. I don't really know what else to say. If he's doing something similar in week 8, I'm probably going to be more angry at him. Reality is that if he catches that ball, the game's over. Everybody knows that. But is that the reason they lost the game? It's one of the reasons they lost the game, yeah. But you put yourself in a position to where you couldn't make a mistake. Bottom line. Man, I want to play the blame game here. Who do people blame the most for this loss, and who are you most aggravated at for this loss? Tyler, I am so angry at Howie Roseman right now. And if I'm playing the blame game, he's not number 1 on the list. But the fact that this defense sucks, I almost put D-line / Howie Roseman. This is his defensive line. Bryce Huff's making $17 million a year. These 3 first-round draft pick defensive linemen are having no impact at all. No impact. This is what they have. Bryce Huff was your replacement for Hassan Reddick. Mm-hmm. He's going to be primarily your best pass rusher. And it hasn't worked through 2 weeks. Not only hasn't it worked, they've given you 0 on the defensive line. I'm so aggravated at Howie Roseman in this defense right now.
Yeah, understood. I think mine extends a little bit in a similar vein. It's Vic Fangio for me. Now, listen, Vic Fangio's not out there, in the trenches trying to get a pass rush. So I get it's kind of the same thing about if a hitter strikes out in a specific spot, was it the right call by the manager to pinch
was
hit?
Was it the manager's
You know
fault?
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always going to be the player versus the coach conversation. Fangio brought no pressure yesterday at all. I keep coming back to it, and I understand I sound like a broken record at 8:33 in the morning, but it frustrated me endlessly last night that this team was not able to get home to put some kind of pressure in Kirk Cousins' face. He was standing still throwing passes, and he was connecting with guys because he was having time to get rid of the football.
Right.
So to me, it's Fangio's play calling. It's an extension. So it's a combination of Fangio's play calling and the front 4 not getting home almost at all.
You'd said this earlier, and I forgot to follow up on it. Some quarterbacks are just going to get rid of the ball. So you may look at the box score and be like, well, they didn't get a sack all night, but they're literally just dumping or checking down because they're worried about the pass rush. Cousins really isn't that guy. He'll hold the ball. Now, he'll get rid of the ball, but he'll hold the ball when he's trying to make a play down the field. We've seen it too many times where that's where he makes the boneheaded throw, right? There's guys out there that are just, you're not going to hit them because they're getting rid of the ball. That was not the case last night. They couldn't get him off a spot. You got to get guys off their spot and make Kirk Cousins will hold the ball and will make poor decisions. They didn't do that to him last night. They didn't do it last night. They didn't. So Howie Roseman in the defensive line in the defense is number 1 on my list last night. Number 1 on my blame game list. Number 2, as I pull it up here, is Jalen Hurts. You can't do that at the end of the game. And I'm going to praise Jalen before the end of the show, I promise, because I thought he had a good game last night. In that situation, we've seen the elite quarterbacks in the NFL with 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and 40 seconds to go in the game. All you need is 30 yards. If Jake Elliott misses a long field goal, he misses a long field goal. It is unacceptable, and it's and honestly, I can't believe it that they didn't get, with that much time left to go in the game, that they didn't actually have a shot at a field goal, or at least something for the end zone. There's no reason to make that throw right there. No reason. 1st and 10 at the Eagles' 43-yard line. 1st and 10, Eagles' 43-yard line. Goddard gets a big chunk. Come on in. I asked the cuz to come in to try to help me with this because I'm not handling this well this morning, Anthony.
You shouldn't.
There's a lot of blame to go around, and we've assessed it. Jalen doesn't need to throw the ball up right there.
No.
And I know that he was being pressured on the play.
You still have timeouts.
Two timeouts.
Yeah. You still have timeouts, and all you need is 14 yards.
To get to a 60-yard field goal.
Right.
Which Jake Elliott makes rather routinely.
To get a shot. You know what's weird? It's like he gives up the game. He's done that before, where at the end of it, let me just throw it up and hope something happens. Instead of trying, you can't work the middle of the field, just 22 seconds. You have time to work the middle of the field. But again, it's the middle of the field, and we don't go near the middle of the field.
2 timeouts. I figured it out. I went back and watched it. The ball fell incomplete with 19 seconds left. Or it was intercepted with 19 seconds left. So he was getting pressured. The Eagles didn't handle that stunt well all night long where the defensive tackle was coming around. Lander Dickinson got beat on the play. He got hit as he threw it. That's an easy throw the ball away because you got to see the safety that's going to come up and jump in front of it, which he did. The ball would have been incomplete, but it's a dangerous throw. Devontae wasn't anywhere near it.
Oh, my God. It's a horrible throw. It's a horrible throw.
It's a chuck it up there. That's where you have to decide in your head, I'm throwing this out of bounds.
Yes.
Or you're throwing it on the ground incomplete where no one's getting to it.
Yes.
You have minimum. You have 3 shots. You have 3 shots, 2 timeouts. I mean, frankly, you should have a 40-yard field goal in that spot. They left the Eagles a ton of time.
Yeah, well, that's the most absurd thing. With no timeouts, they just go matriculate right down the field. Boom, 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 boom. Which, by the way, to me, I know there's the play call, and that deserves scrutiny. But to me, the biggest takeaway is it's the same defense. Yep. It's the passive defense, the bend but don't break defense. You got a quarterback who's coming off an Achilles injury, who is a statuesque, right? Who you got a quarterback that you got to pressure him. You got to do it. Your D-line can't generate any pressure. You got to send a blitz. You can't sit there and just let him pick you apart. I don't understand it.
That's what the Eagles organization wants. For everybody that bitched about Jonathan Gannon and then who they hired last year,
it's the same thing.
It's Vic Fangio. They're all disciples. This is what they want to run.
Right. It's an analytic-friendly defense. It's always been that. They've always taught. They believe in this thing. Yep. It's organizational wide, which for the life of me, I don't understand. I don't understand it. And listen, there's parts of that defense that make sense.
It's smart,
people run it, right? We're not fans of it because we like more of an aggressive style defense. But you got to come out of the shell when you got a quarterback like Cousins.
But to your point, analytics is great, and the Eagles have used analytics, you can say, better than any team in the NFL. They were first team doing it or whatever. But Kirk Cousins as a quarterback is different than some other quarterback where, you get pressure on Kirk Cousins, he's going to throw the ball up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just going to throw the ball up. He's got nowhere to go. So to more or less just give up on trying to get to the pass rusher, and should they be able to get pressure from their front four? Yeah, they should, but they weren't.
But first of all, that's the truth of the matter is their D-line is no good. It's just not good. I mean, the difference when they won the Super Bowl running the same stuff is because they had Fletcher Cox, who was still a beast, BG, who was young and a beast, Chris Long, right? You had a D-line that was a force. They were great. This D-line's not good.
Nothing.
It's not good.
Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith through 2 games, 2 tackles, 1 quarterback carry, no sacks. Jalen Carter played 46 snaps last night, had 1 tackle.
Yeah, it was the one play flash.
The one play. Yep, that you noticed.
He's got to do better.
Hey,
Jordan Davis is just lost.
No, he stinks.
Right. Huff is worthless.
He had no stats.
Yeah.
He literally didn't have a stat last night. Look at the box score.
Tackle, yeah.
Did he have that tackle? I looked this morning. They took it away from him.
Yeah.
It's not there. It's literally not there. Yeah, like Jordan Davis, and so far in 2 games, they're giving up 6.5 yards a carry and 316 rushing yards. You draft a nose tackle in the top 13, so that doesn't happen because he's not getting to the quarterback.
You play a 50 front, right? So you want to play that 5-man front in rundowns. You play the 50, and he's not doing anything.
God,
he's not doing anything. It's sad.
So I'm not one that's leading the show today talking about Sirianni for an hour, how much of a boob he is for throwing the ball on 3rd down and everything else.
First of all, he had nothing to do with play calls.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, that's also true. And he said it after the game. But I think it's a debatable play. They actually said, we think that if we run it here, they're going to have 10 people and they're going to crash the middle. And
so here's my argument, right? Like, I don't think it's idiotic.
Right.
But I don't think the risk was worth the reward. I mean, in this case. So if people go, well, look, they moved right down the field. But if they only have a minute to go, all right, instead of a minute 40, it's a different mindset, right? Because
Eagles play differently. They play differently.
The first play of that drive was a play across the middle of the field that took about 20 seconds. But it was a drive starter, right? It got them going because when you run a hurry-up offense, you need a drive starter, right? You need to, because then you could move, defense not set, the whole thing. You can't run that play with a minute to go because you're burning too much time. So you just got to play the percentages.
I agree with you. And Tyler and I were talking this morning. I would have ran the ball.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm not saying you're an idiot because listen, the play worked, right?
Saquon catches the ball, it's over.
He's the best back catching the ball out of the backfield. So
he dropped it.
I just don't like the risk in that situation. I don't think it's a death knell call. Like I don't think, oh my God, you're an idiot. My biggest gripe is with the defense and how the fact that Fangio, after watching his D line be anemic, right? Why didn't you dial up a pressure?
Yep. At least with Jonathan Gannon, he would find ways to be creative and get a 5th rusher, to get a 5th pass rusher. And I agree with you. They beat up on bad quarterbacks. But they at least were able to generate pressure, and their line was much better then. I mean, it feels like 10 years ago that these guys were playing, not 2 years ago.
The biggest disappointment, and I got to tell you, is the Philly Dogs.
The Philly Dogs.
And listen, I loved it, so I can't complain. I mean, Jalen Carter slips me a 10. I'm okay. Sign me up. Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis was a little sketchy because you were hoping that he would become an every down player, right? Not just situational guy. So he was a little bit debatable. But Jalen Carter, I'm all in. Nolan Smith, I got it. All right.
He slipped. Nolan Smith slipped. He just can't play. All right. I don't want to steal your thunder because I know you're coming up at 9 o'clock and you have a lot to say. I just wanted to one more thing on this defense. How does Thomas Booker, 9 snaps, have 3 tackles and 2. He did more in 9 snaps last night than the freaking entire defensive line has done all season long. Milton Williams had made an impact. He made an impact. The backup players are showing up in limited snaps, and these prolific first-round draft picks, and other guys too, giving you nothing. Josh Sweat, at least, you notice him once or twice a game. This Huff is a disaster.
Disaster. But I got news for you. That's not good enough for Josh Sweat.
No, it's not. But that's where we are with this line. That if a guy you notice a guy once or twice a game, it's like, well, at least he has a pressure this year.
I know.
Or a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Nah, you can't. It's a shame because I like their secondary, like their corners.
Quinlan Mitchell's going to be really good.
You can see
really
it.
Good,
I like their corners.
Cooper DeJean, I don't.
Wow, it's early.
He's going to need a redshirt year, half a season.
Maybe. But I mean, I like their secondary. Unfortunately, you can't play with that line in front of you.
No, you can't.
And if you can't generate any sort of pressure, then you have to dial up a blitz, which is not clearly not what Fangio's going to do.
Wide receiver depth, I was worried about going into the season. Only if you lose one of these two guys, now you have Britton Covey running routes. He doesn't want to throw to Dotson. I don't know if he's not getting open or what. I'll be interested to hear what Baldy has to say about everything.
I know. I got to tell you, the one thing about Jalen, I wish he would do more of, is when he scrambles, because he's quick to get out of the pocket.
And he looked good last night. He had the burst last night.
He did, but less running and more scrambling to look down the field, because there were guys that were open down the field.
Opportunities, yeah.
And that's something that it's great that he runs,
right,
but that's not sustainable, man. We saw it last year. The minute you get popped and he's hurt, you have to just move to throw.
Here's the and it's actually was what I was going to talk about the last segment here, is that you saw the burst last night. He kind of put the team on his back on a couple of those drives. But what happens, like you said, when he gets hit, he looks like he did last year. And if you don't develop and evolve as a quarterback throwing the football, you get what you got last year.
Right.
You can't survive. That's Lamar Jackson survival. Right? Jalen can't play like that. He needs to be like, you can pick and choose your spots. And last night, he needed to do that right there. You can't play like that every game. You can't rely on that type of a play to win you a Super Bowl. You just can't.
No.
The great thing about 2022 with Jalen was he didn't depend on that. He was
their run game was so ridiculous.
So much better. Yeah,
but here's the problem, right? Their run game was so good that in the pass game, everybody was open.
Yep.
He had multiple, like the scheme was, then D coordinators caught up to it. And now it's
made the adjustment.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up at 9:00. Thank you.
Love you, buddy.
I needed this.
My man.
I brought it. This wasn't even a prop, that Coors Light right there.
Yeah.
I drank my coffee in about 3 seconds. And I forgot an energy drink. So I'm like, I need something right now. I need give me some alcohol. I didn't drink it, but I felt like I needed to drink this morning.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you want to drink after, I'm in.
All right. All right. The Cuz is coming up at 9:00 here. So don't go anywhere. Anthony Gargano Show. All right. Well, let's do this here. All right. Because I was actually looking for the line. I guess it wasn't posted after last night. I was on the BetParks app because it's one of the first things I do in the morning is go to the BetParks app, look at the line, see if there's been line movement. Yeah, listen, not for nothing. We had a pretty good read on that line, Tyler. We had saw it was going to be a close game. Money bet that down to 5.5. We saw this as a field goal game. We were both on. But you got to get to the BetParks app, man. I mean, you just do. Because you get all the lines, you get all the props, you get everything else. And right now, you're getting an amazing, amazing opportunity, especially after 2 weeks. This is still there, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, it's the only sportsbook app I would ever use. The BetParks Sportsbook app and online casino. And this is a great offer. So there's still the 50-1 odds boost going on right now for your pick on this year's Pro Football Championship. All new users. So if you use one of these other books, get the BetParks right now. All new users who sign up, make deposit, you get a 50-1 Super Bowl odds boost. BetParks.com has all the terms and conditions. So 50-1. And you could, after 2 weeks, maybe you see some value in some of these teams. Like Baltimore, 0-2, if you like Baltimore. Or who knows, maybe even right here. So download the BetParks Sportsbook and online casino app right now. And you'll get your 50-1 Super Bowl odds boost on your pick for this year's Pro Football Championship. It is limited time offer, so get in now. New customers only. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Michigan, or Maryland. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. BetParks. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Rite Aid, listen. Cold season's going to be coming up here in a second. Allergy season's right now. That's why you got to get to Rite Aid. All your prescriptions. People won't believe me. I was actually at the Rite Aid again yesterday because I needed to refill another prescription. See, I got to do a better job with the My Pharmacy account. Because if I can get all the prescriptions at one time, I can pick everything up at once, right? You can ask your pharmacist, sync your medications so you can pick them up at once. Ask your local Rite Aid pharmacist to get everything started. But a My Pharmacy account, man, refill your prescriptions, schedule a vaccine, get personalized care, sign up for prescription notifications. Just get the automatic refill so you don't have to worry about it. There's nothing worse than when you're like, oh my God, I'm out of my prescription. And then, now you got to call and you don't have it for that day. Listen, Rite Aid takes care of you, all right? Manage your prescriptions with the Rite Aid mobile app. You can transfer or refill your prescriptions, set up medication reminders, enroll in prescription notifications. Just download the app from the Apple App Store or Google Play. RiteAid.com/transfer. Transfer those subscriptions to Rite Aid today. Rite Aid caring pharmacists ready to answer your questions and help you stay healthy. Get your prescriptions along with anything else you need at Rite Aid. Over-the-counter medicines, household products, cosmetics, and more. Just ask your local pharmacy team for details. Restrictions apply. All right, well, there we go. Last night, I want to play the Sean Marash thing. Last night, and I know Sean, he works at WFAN in New York. He does the afternoon show with Evan Roberts and Tiki. When I say I know him. We're former coworkers in the same company, and I don't think I've actually ever met him. But Sean's a great guy. He's also an irrational idiot Giants fan and a Met fan too. So I invite to follow this guy because he melts down with the Giants because he actually thinks that they're going to be good every year. He's one of those fans that thinks they're going to be good. So now he knows that they're going to suck and they're more or less tanking. If you noticed on social media last night, every friggin' Giant fan or member of Giant media up there, it was Tyler. Would you agree? It seemed like that they won the Super Bowl.
There is a weird sense of celebratory posts from a lot of Giants fans, considering the fact that they probably host the worst or second worst quarterback in the NFL at the current moment. The other one got benched, this past weekend. Yeah. So, and what was it, $60 some odd million over the last couple of years for Daniel Jones? It's this weird celebratory sense that doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense. I mean, unless this is all they've got to celebrate.
Well, it makes sense. It honestly makes sense to me. And if I had a team in an organization that was terrible, like the Giants, that if you take away those 2 Super Bowls, and I know you're not going to take those 2 Super Bowls away, but in the last decade is one of the worst teams in the National Football League. It's one of the worst organizations in the National Football League. The regal Mara and Tisch New York Giants, they suck. They're buried and lost in the 90s, all right? So if I was a Giants fan and Saquon Barkley more or less just said, F you guys, I'm going to go play for your biggest rival, the Eagles, and I'm going to try to shove it up your nose. Like, I'd be pretty happy if Saquon dropped the ball to lose the game. Eagles fans are extremely annoying. Believe me, I know that. But here's the good thing. We're not Giants. We're not the Giants, and we're not Giants fans. So we don't have to act like that. Because if I was pathetic like the Giants, I probably would act like this. Here's Sean Marash on his Twitter after last night's game.
I tried to tell you, Eagle fans, you have that losing player, Saquon Barkley, with all his crap drops in crucial spots, and already in week 2, he's cost you a football game. Losing players lose games. Enjoy that. Enjoy Nick Sirianni's man titties. Enjoy it all, Philly. You guys suck. Saquon sucks. You lost to Kirk Cousins in prime time. Fly, Eagle. Saquon sucks. Enjoy him.
Well, listen, he's a loser player because he played for a loser organization. And if he would have re-signed, you wouldn't be calling him a loser player. It's a loser organization. They should have signed him. They should have. But being that you have no quarterback, no line, no talent, Malik Neighbors looks like a stud. So like letting Saquon Barkley walk wasn't ridiculous. The fact that they even wanted to re-sign him, or the owner was like, if you're the owner, you want Saquon Barkley back, you tell the GM, I want Saquon Barkley back. He didn't want to go back. You know why? Because it's a loser organization. So enjoy your Super Bowl last night, Sean Marash and all you other loser Giants fans up there. I know it felt good. It hurt. The loss hurt. It was salt in the wounds, Tyler Zulli. It hurt last night. But
listen, I get it. I understand that, the frustrations of an organization that, not like you said, not only lost a really good player, but lost a good player to a divisional rival definitely stings a little bit. And if this is a coping mechanism, if this helps you sleep at night, God bless. Good for you. I will say this. I think that if an Eagles fan, especially somebody in our line of work, did this, I would expect that we roast them. because it's fake. It's phony.
Well, that's how they all feel. They hate us.
That's fine, and I hate the Giants too.
I do too.
They're my least favorite team in the. I hate the Giants more than I hate the Cowboys. It's just the product of the team that I grew up, watching. It just was part of that conversation. If I did this after somebody goes to the Giants and perform,
well, you would look pathetic like they look. Let's face it.
I would hope you would call me out on it.
Let's face it. They look pathetic doing it, but it amuses them and it's kind of funny. So. Anyway, by the way, if you're not subscribing to our newsletter, Tyler, and I know you are, I am as well. Rich Hoffman Jr. comes up with it every morning. So before we go on the air at 8 o'clock, you can have this newsletter delivered to your email. And don't think of it like a newsletter. It's called PHLY Daily. Everything you need to know. It's really a sports page, a digital sports page with everything, including, like he takes highlights from tweets, so he'll post tweets. He'll give you information on the games. I mean, really, it's a great resource. I take a look at it as soon as Rich puts it in the inbox to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oftentimes, I get tidbits that I use for the show. So if you haven't subscribed, just get to our website and just boom, sign up, and you can get it. So so it comes every morning before we go on the air. You can get it. Phillies did lose last night. I figure like I know we weren't going to really talk about it this morning, but we got to at least mention it. They lose last night. Ranger Suarez didn't look good again. He went 5 innings. Wasn't horrible. I can't tell you I watched 1 second of the game because I didn't. But the loss to the Brewers. Got another one coming up here. It's got to be careful that you don't go up there and get swept, because now you're talking about losing number 1 seed in the NL and some other possibilities.
Well,
there, Tyler,
and I will say this: after last night's start, he was much more sharp than he was in the last 2. It still wasn't good, but I will say this: I think we've probably gotten just about to the precipice of. I don't think there's any question in anybody's mind right now. Christopher Sanchez is starting within the first 3 games of the playoffs, and Ranger Suarez probably is not.
Now they'd be crazy to do it, and he would also have to understand he's laboring to get you through 5 innings. He's out of gas after 5 innings. We had worried about this earlier in the season where it's like, man, he's never pitched like this before. He's never, this is a lot of innings for him to log.
His regular season high was 155.
Yep.
Heading into this year.
So, and then he had the injury, and he's never really fully come back from the injury. So you have Zach Wheeler going tonight, and then you have Aaron Nola. So Wheeler, Nola next 2 games, but they lost last night. It was Nick Foles' day last night. He retired. The friggin' loss. Didn't really get to celebrate it. I probably wouldn't have anyway. Not that I don't love Nick or whatever, but it was cool. I enjoyed watching the videos and seeing the pictures and things like that. So shout out to Nick Foles on his official Eagles retirement. And all day yesterday was the Jason Kelce show there, Tyler Zulli.
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic in the booth. You could tell that they wanted Kelce to be a little more himself, a little bit more personable. And it felt to me like Kelce was trying really, really hard to be an objective broadcaster, knowing it's a national game, knowing it's the Eagles. And it almost felt like they were just like poking the bear a little bit, where they're like, hey, what do you think about Cam Jurgens? What do you think about Jalen Hurts? That was a good play, wasn't it? And it was weird. It was like
he loosened up a little bit as they got going. But to me, it felt like that he was afraid to step on Troy, given the analysis. And really, they just wanted him being in there, being Jason, and having fun. So, yeah, it was – and they were kissing his ass, too. They're like, oh, future Hall of Famer. And they're like, thank you so much. An honor to have you in here or whatever. And it's like, yeah, bro, like he's probably going to be in the booth in like a year. He's destined to be in the booth. I know he does the pregame stuff or whatever. He can make $20 million a year being an analyst. So that's what I think he's going to end up doing. But he was dancing around and doing all this other stuff pregame in the parking lot. He's something else, man. I love Jason. He's great. All right. Something tells me we're going to be bitching and complaining tomorrow there, Tyler Zulli.
Why is that?
Because the Eagles lost. This isn't a one-day, man, the Eagles suck, let's move on tomorrow. No.
There's on top of needing one win to get the regular season series over the Brewers.
Need a win.
The tiebreaker
to get the
over the Brewers. On top of needing that and them losing yesterday, and you don't want to slip too much ground. Now Zach Wheeler's got the precipice, the pressure of like, angry Eagles fans on his shoulders now, where it's like, Zach, you better win, buddy. And I feel terrible.
You'll be
him.
collateral damage
because he's
losing.
already gotten pressure on himself a bulk of times anyway, because they don't seem to give him run support.
Shout out to the diehards out there. Thank you to the diehards. Yeah, it'd be nice if they got a win tonight. All right, so everybody, you know how to watch the show. This is the first time you're tuning in after an Eagles game. Every morning, 8 o'clock, Philly with John Marks. Tyler Zuli's here. And if you don't catch the show live at 8 o'clock, you can watch on YouTube whenever on demand. PHLY Sports is how you find us on YouTube. My personal stuff is at John, Jon Marks, Marks Media. At John Marks Media. Instagram, Twitter, at gmail.com. You can email me. Same way. If you want to listen to the podcast, maybe you're listening right now. You're like, well, I do listen to the podcast. The audio version of the podcast is available a little bit after 9 o'clock. Tyler will post it, and you can listen to it at your convenience. And again, if you have Roku TV, PHLY has a channel. Search PHLY Sports, and then you'll catch all of our great programming from PHLY Eagles, Tyler's on the Phillies show, Flyers, Sixers, Anthony's show, which is going live right now, and of course, Philly with John Marks. So, appreciate everybody tuning in. I will be probably as annoyed or close to annoyed and angry tomorrow on a Wednesday. So, we'll talk to you then. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.